Page 1.
Kia ki jesu da ki shinge la chi jesu sa guru pai ma siddhi ho. Page 3. Kunzan dosem gara shirishe Pema kara jeba nishunga so zu nyuna te tengyan so kate lama nama sawadam. Primordial Buddha Samantabhadra, Vajrasattva, Garib Dorje, Sri Singha, Padmasambhava, and your 25 disciples, the king, the subjects, So, Zua, Nup, Nak, the hundreds discoverers of Dharma treasures, lineage lamas of oral transmission and revealed spiritual treasures. To you we pray, may your heart and mind, ours, remain inseparable for the limitless benefit of one and all. And on page 5, top. Min chike yenke paudrane dusa sanje kunjing awani ransam chukung ansan tanze pa sawe lam shabla sawade. Within the mansion of awakened awareness, the highest heaven, we pray to our root source of guidance and blessing, the embodiment of all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, who points directly to our own awareness as Dharmakaya. Palden sawe lama rinpoche dage chiyo peme den lashu kaden chempa gane jason te gusan te ging adra sabda so. Resplendent root guru, precious guide, enshrined on the lotus seat upon our heads and in our hearts, nurturing us with your warmth and kindness. Please transmit your realization of awakened body, energy, and mind. Homage to the innate great perfection, great completeness. May you all realize it and be benefited by it. Invoking and inviting the blessings, inspiration, encouragement, protection, and guidance of all the lineage masters and mistresses, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Dakas and Dakinis, guardians, protectors, awakeners. Invoking and inviting their blessed, splendid presence in this very moment, in this very place, in our hearts and souls, their true home. Bring it down as if from above, from the past until now, from heaven to earth. Bring it out as if from within, if you look at it that way. And more importantly, actualizing it, realizing it, embodying it, and paying them back in gratitude and appreciation by paying it forward, by passing it on, by preserving, adopting, and passing it on to illumine this benighted world. My first settling and arriving, the first step of any meditation, any contemplation, any prayerful practice. You must be present to win. Arriving, settling, centering, grounding, sitting on your seat, on the spot, on the dot, arriving. relaxing, at ease and at home, more and more settling, fully inhabiting the present moment, sinking your roots deep into the good earth, the groundless ground of being, the fundament. Sinking your roots deep, fully inhabiting the present moment and imbibing its delectable, nourishing essences. Relying on being more than doing in this effortless effort of Dzogchen, sky gazing meditation. First, arriving, settling. Second, intensifying with some breath and energy practices, sharpening the focus, the intention, the concentration, refining your mind and attitude, intensifying the samadhi, the focused concentration, the meditative contemplation. Second step of any contemplation or prayerful practice, intensifying through whatever technique. Now breathing, preparing to inhale, inhaling deeply, filling up, feeling it viscerally, lower belly, and exhaling and releasing. How sweet it is. Again, inhaling deeply, feeling it in your lower belly, your hara, your navel chakra, and exhaling and releasing, emptying yourself, totally self-emptying, kenosis, getting out of your own way, leaving more room for God, for Buddha, for the common power. And third, last time, inhaling deeply, holding a moment, intensifying, concentrating, relax into it, relax yet dynamically aware. And releasing. And one more last time. Now let's really do it. Inhaling deeply and filling up. Second, holding. And releasing. Now lean back a little and raise the gaze, and we're going to chant 3 times the easy to memorize, user-friendly Dzogchen mantra. What page is that on, Christopher? Oh, never mind. Means inhaling, and with a big out breath. Shattering everything, bursting the bubble of separation. Opening, relaxing. Releasing. And again, now I want to really hear you. Inhaling deeply. And for the third and last time, now we just warm up, now we really do it. Inhaling. Hold the breath out for a moment of false emptiness, pseudo-sunyata, like a bubble turned inside out in the sea from which it's never been apart. Hold the breath out for a moment. Self-emptying. No reference point. Before breathing in at your own pace and, as it were, coming back to your own reference point. Letting the breath settle, letting everything settle. Leaning back, raising the gaze. These are the instructions. Listen up. Lean back, raise the gaze. That means open your eyes, raise the gaze, open your ears. Raise your ears, Spock. Open your posture, open your heart and mind, open your energy, open the constricted sphincter of ego-ness, the contraction of Buddha nature. Gaze gently into the infinite space, the outer sky, looking into awareness itself, the inner infinite, the inner sky, letting everything go into just being the secret infinite, the infinite, groundless and boundless, transpersonal, transconceptual beingness, tathagata garbha, suchness, Buddha nature, isness, just being. The instruction, sky gazing, eyes gazing, total sphere of awareness, 360-degree sphere of sensitive, receptive, inclusive awareness, eye gazing, space mingling, dissolving in the infinite, decontracting, letting be. Remember, just sitting, just breathing, just being, that's the basis. Sky gazing, Nam Kainaljo, sky, space, union, yoga. Reunion, yoga, coming home to the totality, seeing through separateness, the essence of Tregchud, seeing through, being through. Not looking outside for anything, not looking inside for anything, not getting stuck in between, just gazing gently. Letting everything come and go. Letting go means letting be. As it is, seeing through all momentary, impermanent, dreamlike appearances, phenomena, and noumena, mind stuff. Resting in choiceless, non-reactive, non-judgmental, equanimous awareness, detached, yet befriending everything, befriending yourself, welcoming the next moment, whatever it may be. Enjoying the hit parade, the endless Easter parade of the Dharmakaya floats going by, the endless procession of Rigpa, flow of awareness. Imaho, how sweet it is, the natural great perfection, just as is, the Tao of now, Imaho. Don't look up at the ceiling, just eyes slightly uplifted. Sky gazing, space mingling, infinite dissolving, letting come and go, letting be. Awareness, aware of awareness, aware of whatever momentarily presents itself in the body, mind, in the present moment, and letting it go. Befriending yourself, befriending the world, allowing the next thing to come in, not holding on to what's past. This breath, only breath. This moment, only moment. Seeing through everything. Seeing through oneself. Be Buddha. Seeing through oneself, seeing Buddha, being Buddha. Gonzo Zampo. All good. If the mind wanders, or if you feel dull or sleepy, or on the other hand, distracted, agitated, take a deep breath, refresh the corpse of wakefulness, and start again fresh, alert, aware, wakeful, mindful, attentive. Focus on the breath as an anchor if you need it, but in this case, focus more on the out breath, maybe 30 or 40% on the out breath. Of course, you're allowed to breathe in, but focus more on the out breath and the principle of releasing, of expanding and dissolving, of decontracting. Ride the out breath into infinite openness, luminous, senseless openness, the natural expanse, the spacious clarity of innate wakefulness, of pure presence, total awareness. Rigpa, the Buddha mind, right now. Eyes open, mouth open, nose and ears open, throat open, chest open, posture open, diaphragm open, anus open, heart and mind totally open, relaxed, at ease, like sitting on a hill, gazing over the ocean at the horizon, not counting the waves, not studying the ships, not waiting for your ship to come in, just gazing. Dissolving in the immensity, the facticity, the presentness of nature, of the true nature. being itself. Eyes gazing, mind aware, posture open, relaxed, action just being. Not doing, achieving, learning, or becoming. Action just being. Maha. Yes. How sweet it is. The natural grape confection.
Page 21.
Guru Rinpoche Nadran Dewa Chamba Shab Bache Kunsel Dudo Drop Sawadasa Shake love the soul and China Sawa Bache Shiva Daha Sapalenje Drapa Shake love Precious Master, one with all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, blissful presence and source of all cities, fierce destroyer of illusion, who dispels every obstruction. We pray to you for blessing and inspiration. Please remove all outer, inner, and secret obstacles and spontaneously fulfill our aspirations. So nam diye
Page 22.
Zipani tamne ne pedrana pamjane yegana chibala trapaye sipe sale drawasha. By the power of this virtuous practice, may the real enemies, our own projections and misdeeds, be overcome, and ultimate vision fully attained, so we may free beings from the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, the stormy to the ocean of samsara. Jancho sancho krempa che makye pana ke gyoje ge panyam pa me pa ya gane gande bawasha. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are illumined and awakened. And on 24. Jampa pawa jita kyampa ta kunta zampa deya deshente de da kunji jeso da labjing nge wadi da tamche rabdungo. As the heroic great bodhisattvas Manjusri and Samantabhadra through wisdom realized things just as they are and dedicated their merits to the enlightenment of all beings. May I too follow in their footsteps, dedicate likewise, and become just like them. And on page 25, dedication of merits and good fortune by my own personal mentor and co-founder of the Dzogchen Foundation, Nyosho Khenpo, the late Nyosho Khen Rinpoche. Through the merit of this, may the light of the Buddha's precious teachings remain for ages to come, the ground for every single kind of benefit and happiness. May all the supreme holders of the teachings who upheld the living truth accept to live for eons, and their lotus feet stand firm in this world. And so may the sun of altruism and well-being in all its blazing splendor shine the brilliant light of the study and practice of the Buddha Dharma throughout every corner of the universe. Imaho. I love to use Nyosho Khenpo Rinpoche's teachings and pithy instructions. If you're not familiar with him, his picture is one of them on the altar behind me, perhaps prominently in front. I can't see, my fourth eye is short-sighted at this point. Nyosho Khen Rinpoche, who famously, when we used to ask too many questions, well, even just always used to say, shut up and meditate. Kasum gum gyap. Not just when we ask too many questions. When's Khyentse Rinpoche gonna come? Shut up and meditate. Why do we have to say all these prayers at the monastery every morning? Shut up and meditate. Rinpoche, come and teach us. We know you're old and you have a headache and double vision, but come and teach us anyway. Shut up and meditate. But lovingly, but then he would meditate with us. In fact, he would more than meditate with us. In our 3-year retreat, he used to go around during the personal, we had, the day was divided into 6 2-hour sessions, where we would spend in our room 4 of them, meditating for 2 hours at a time and doing practice, and then 2 sessions where we would gather in the morning and night for chants, prayers, and teachings. So 4 times, twice 2 hours. 8 hours a day. We'd be in our room practicing Mudra, we'd get in practice, 6 yogas, Maha, Mudra, Dzogchen, etc. by ourselves in our box. So, meditation seats. So he didn't just say, shut up and meditate. He would tiptoe around and like just kind of open the door of your room. Usually we didn't go into each other's cells. It was a monastic cloister 3-year retreat. He would open the door, kind of like he would tiptoe around. He had the idea he didn't want to disturb, and he also didn't want us to know he was coming, so he would kind of tiptoe around. But tiptoeing wasn't really his style, being a Vajra master and a lion of Dharma. He would just kind of like walk around and even like clump around with his old flip-flops going. And all of a sudden your door, he would like gently, burst open your door. Because it's a meditation retreat, you have to be mindful and silent. Suddenly your door would burst open, and he'd be standing there. And you're sitting there, waiting for mealtime. And there wasn't much else happening. 3-year retreat, no weekends, no nights off, no. As a Brazilian woman who came from the first day said, Rinpoche, can we go to the movies on Saturday night? It was like, everybody looked at her like, didn't you know what you just joined into? Yeah, Saturday night we're going to have the head shaving, no movies. So the door would burst open and he would just stand there like, my imagination, like a barometer taking the temperature of your practice, which really made you look at yourself and your practice. Maybe that was the point, I don't know. You never knew what the point was. I still don't know the point of Dharma, but you do. You have to look at yourself and wonder, what is the point? And what am I doing? Why? How? What's happening? What is it, as the Zen koan says? What is it, this moment? What is it? What is it? And what is it? What is it now? What is this? Every moment, keeping that wonderment alive. So he would gently burst the door open and he'd be standing there. And of course, being human, you'd wonder what the hell and what's he thinking, and the guy doesn't even knock, and whatever kind of namtokes or like discursive projections you'd imagine. And he never said a word to anybody, and then he would drift away, probably not even closing the door, which was fine in the summer, but in weather like this, not so fine from the human point of my point of view. So then you'd be sitting there wondering if you should get up and close it, or you just had to keep meditating till the end of the session. So much mental activity, all useless, which is the point. I'm sure that was the real point, to understand that you just can't believe whatever you think. He is a great master. They say he's been reborn now in the Himalayas and is, 8 or 10 years old. Who knows? It's hard to keep track. He's never gone for me. He passed away in 1999 at our 3-year retreat center in Dordogne, France. I was there a week before he died with him. Since I'm on this subject, jumping ahead to the pith instructions of Dzogchen, he gave us many teachings, but 4 famous, very relevant pith instructions to our Dzogchen meditation, our natural meditation practice. I'm going to explain today a little more about Treg Chud, seeing through, cutting through, which I mentioned yesterday, and sky gazing, and other things here that John Dean wrote from my speech for me today to have to say, make him happy. Like the view, meditation, and action of Dzogchen. But let me just go right to the Khenpo Rinpoche's pith instructions, since he seems to have hacked into my Dharma talk process here. His very pithy instructions, his oral personal tips, point as we call it, Mangak in Tibetan, Upadesha in Sanskrit. If you read those books by Gunther and Trungpa, Upadesha, or oral pith instructions, whispered oral instructions, not just books, not just quotes, not just verses and shlokas, but the personal, like this is how you tie your shoe, the rabbit goes into the hole and all that. Somebody has to tell you that and show you that. You can't just read about it in a book when you're a kid, how to tie your shoe. Or you can try, but you probably won't learn how to tie a shoe that way so easily. So his fifth instruction. There are many. There's a big book, this big, called I forget what. The Marvelous Garland of Rare Gems, the Dzogchen Teachings of Nyosho Khenpo Rinpoche. So his fifth instruction is first, matcha, non-fabrication, or non-alteration, non-interference, matcha. To put it positively, like naturalness, spontaneous, ordinary. In meditation, not manipulating and altering and interfering and pushing and pulling and trimming and building up. In life, straightforwardness and ordinariness and so forth, not making a big deal, being extraordinarily ordinary, seeing the magic in everything, not having to make magic, trip out, show off. Wear Tibetan wampum to show how spiritual you are. You know, that's just jewelry and tchotchkes. Just being ordinary. Like Patrul Rinpoche, who walked around Tibet in Tibetan blue jeans, the great master, in just an old yakskin cloak. Nobody knew who he was. Not brocade robes, not fancy clothes, not flowing things, not all white. But today, blue jeans and jogging clothes would do. We don't have to wear elegant court robes from the 12th century AD like some Zen people do, like some imitation Westerners do who want to look Tibetan. You know, the clothes don't make the saint or the sage. So matcha. And second, mazu, not doing, not making, not creating, not building anything up. We don't have to build a bridge across the great flow. The flow is going through us right now. We don't have to build a bridge across the great flow to get to the other side. We don't have to get into the flow, Joe. Recognize the flow is going through us right now, every moment. It is us. There is no us apart from that. No us. It is us. It's all perfect. Matcha, mazu. And third, and this all sounds good, but then there's a little fine print at the bottom. All this sounds spontaneous and free and delightful and effortless. The small print at the bottom of the contract, like the warning. These cigarettes may be bad for your health. Don't drink this, or if you're pregnant, here's the warning. Non-distraction, ma yang, not distracted. So you could add to this magam, not meditating. Because Dzogchen meditation is what we call magam sanjay, Buddhahood without meditation, or pre-enlightened enlightenment. Not meditating is one more act, one more karmic act, a construction project, constructing beautiful visualizations of mandalas and radiant deities or other things. Chanting many prayers, piling up piles of merits and good fortune, or so on. It's the meditation of in view, meditation and action. It's the meditation of non-meditation, of just being, not doing, not concentrating, for example. We don't rely on concentrating and calming and clearing the mind. That's efforted, mind-made meditation. This is about innate wakefulness, attention alone, undiluted attention, undiluted attention. Not distracted, not meditating. Magam Sanjay is a whole book by the late great Dzogchen master Dudjom Rinpoche, called Magam Sanjay, Buddhahood without meditation. It doesn't mean not to practice, but it means to go deeper, look into meditation, what meditation really is. Awareness, not crossing your legs. Awareness every moment, not closing your eyes. Awareness every moment, not keeping silent or being a quietist. Integrating awareness into every moment, doing the inner work, if you want to call it that, self-observation. I mean, there's so many different terms for this. Self-reflective awareness, turning the gaze that usually looks out at objects and perception toward the subject, making the subject the object of attention. Who am I? Who's experiencing? Looking at the nature of the mind. They say the eye cannot see itself, but that only goes so far. Give us a mirror and you can see your eye with your eye. They say the mind cannot know itself. Give us the mirror and look in the mirror of emptiness and you know the mind through all its apparitional projections. So these are Khenpo Rinpoche's pithy instructions. So I just want to share that with you because his name came up in conversation. And he's always close by, haunting me in the best possible way. Reminding me of the Zen saying, this very land is the pure land, nirvana, this very body, the body of Buddha. So this morning, I opened the door to sky gazing, the way or the style of, main style of Dzogchen, Tregchud practice. Yesterday we talked about Tregchud, the main practice. 3 practices, Dzogchen, Rushen, Tregchud, and Togel. Subtle discernment, the preliminary or the foundational practice, the Nundro of Dzogchen. Tregchud, cutting through, seeing through, being through Tregchud. The main practice, this naked awareness practice. And Togel, the visionary practice, leap over, being there, Togel. So Tregchud practice, seeing through, cutting through, being through. We practice in the form of sky gazing with an easy, comfy posture. Do we have a tanka of Longchenpa?
In the middle.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Under Guru Rinpoche, lotus-born Padmasambhava in the middle there, above the red square, the door to the tanka, the red square. Padmasambhava, Longchenpa Dzogchen, sitting with his hands on his knees and relaxed, with his eyes open, easy, comfy posture. Not very classical lotus posture with its 7 points of Vairocana, of the straight spine and the tongue touching the palate, and the gaze here, and the dhyana mudra, the meditation posture of Amitabha Buddha, and all that. But easy, comfy posture. In your day, Dzogpa Chenpa. That's why Dzogchen is called easy, comfy, great natural, great perfection. Relaxed and at ease, gazing, not looking for anything, not looking at anything, nothing to look at. With the big out-breath, releasing, and so on. Once, my Dzogchen master, the great Tulku Urgen Rinpoche, who was the Dzogchen master of the 16th Karmapa in Tibet. Tulku Urgen's eldest son, Trikyinima Rinpoche, who comes here once a year, as the abbot of the monastery in Nepal. He was asked how you practice Maha Mudra, let's say Dzogchen. Maha Mudra is sister practice. You can't really see my hands, but he went like this. Remember, we're talking about posture and gaze. Like a bird electrified on the wire, you know? Ah! It's quite a moment. That's the moment of Dzogchen. This moment, the freshness, the vividness, the dawn of creation. Every moment. Not back in ancient history, the Garden of Eden, and then the fall, and now we got crap. Life sucks, and then you die. That's existentialism. Or just depression, pessimism. But every moment, that vivid, wakeful wonderment is the Master Longchenpa's term. Wonderment. Like we hear the word awesome today, ad nauseum, but that's what it means, you know, like, awesome, imaho. Like a kid coming to Disneyland for the first time. Wow, can I go on all the rides? I don't know, Johnny. You're going to get tired. It's going to take more than one day. Good. Every ride is the best ride. And that's a little childish, but you know what I'm saying here. The freshness, the vividness, like the dawn of creation, like the fresh fallen snow before the animals have even tracked it, not to mention it gets beaten down into icy ski slope by traffic. That dawn of creation, the virgin snow, When you let the snow globe settle and everything becomes clear and nothing is stirred up. The truth is everything's already perfectly at peace. We don't have to pacify it or pacify our minds. That's the message of Dzogchen. One moment of total awareness is one moment of perfect freedom and enlightenment. That's direct access, sudden enlightenment that Buddhists talk about. Of course, it's been discussed for millennia, like an argument, a debate between gradual, progressive, developmental enlightenment, gradual enlightenment, and sudden enlightenment. Maybe it's some of both. Maybe it's gradual and then sudden awakening. Like if you hit a rock 99 times with a sledgehammer, and the 100th time, all of a sudden it breaks open. Is that sudden or gradual? Or maybe it's sudden when you have the spiritual breakthrough of glimpse of reality, and then it's gradual cultivation that's needed afterwards, maturation, which is more the Dzogchen principle of glimpse and maturation until stabilization. But anyway, from the point of view of our practice, every moment is it. And it's Buddha's practice, not being's practice, not your practice. So, as Buddhism is always explained from the ground up, Shila, ethics, Samadhi, concentration or meditation, and Prajna, wisdom and love, the three trainings that comprise the Eightfold Noble Path, if you teased it out. And if you're new here, if you're not familiar with this, the Eightfold Path is explained in detail in my Awakening the Buddha Within, 8 Steps to Enlightenment. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So I'm not going to go into all that today about Buddhism. This is the Eightfold Path. Ethics, Shila, ethics, morality, character, integrity, self-discipline, compassion, generosity, and all that. On that basis, let's call it Sunday school, not to put it down, just to say the basic level of morality that with or without religion, everybody in the world more or less subscribes to, and all religions have as a base, similar, same morality. In other words, when you get a little clearer and less intoxicated and less criminal and so on, then you have a chance to be more compassionate and unselfish. And based on that, as you get a little clarity in your life and mind and energy, and then you can start to concentrate and be more mindful and have samadhi. And that leads to wisdom and selflessness and love, prajna paramita. That's gradual, building from the ground up the Eightfold Path. Dzogchen and Maha Mudra, its sister practice, Dzogchen, is always taught swooping down from above. It's the more sudden enlightenment, this is more gradual enlightenment, sudden enlightenment teaching. From the view, from the great wisdom, the first step on the path, which corresponds to the third, comes the meditation of non-meditation. And from that, naturally evolves the action, the Buddha activity, compassionate, selfless, altruistic, proactive Buddha activity, compassionate, selfless, altruistic, appropriate Buddha activity, helpful Buddha activity, beneficial Buddha activity, not just reactive, self-oriented karmic activity, proactive, selfless, beneficial Buddha activity. So from the view of the great perfection, clear vision on the Eightfold Path, seeing things as they are, from the view, the glimpse of reality, the view of everything perfect as it is, the infinite openness, the great shunyata, the infinite great void, transcendent over yet immanent in everyone and everything, our true nature. From that, resting in just being, the meditation of non-meditation. Not concentration, not chanting and visualization, not breath and energy and heat and bliss exercises, not rituals and so on, not even good works, that comes in third, in action. From that, getting used to that glimpse, getting used to that possibility of leaving things as they are, the view, is the meditation of non-meditation. Maturation, maturing the view, getting used to being able to let things be as they are. The natural great perfection. From that comes natural, spontaneous Buddha activity. Excuse me, the 10 paramitas, 10 transcendental Panacean virtues of the Bodhisattva life, of the compassionate altruist, social, spiritual activist, and so on, benefiting the world in practical, observable ways. So Dzogchen, if you read Dzogchen and Maha Mudra books, it's always explained. It should be explained. Eventually, when you get to the part, it's explained according to view, meditation, and action, not ethics, meditation, and wisdom. Although that's there, and it's based on. So this is the basic Buddhism, the first part, and this is like later development of Mahayana and Vajrayana Diamond Path or Tantric Buddhism, which is Dzogchen and Maha Mudra are part of. And the sudden enlightenment practices and so on, which understands samsara and nirvana is inseparable, not trying to get from samsara, worldliness, and delusion to nirvana. So we began the session today with a little chanting of the lineage prayers, and then a little breathing exercise, and then the threefold ah. Then we got into the main practice, the sky gazing. Sky gazing, eyes open, ears open, not eyes open looking inside as if Buddha or something is in there. You know what's inside, organs and, etc. But looking deeper, perceiving deeper, that's the point. Turn the spotlight, the searchlight inwards. It doesn't mean x-ray your bones and organs. It means know thyself, as Socrates said. This is universal metta wisdom. It's not just Buddhism. The Dzogchen teaching is distinguished by its reliance on our innate Buddha-ness, our Buddha nature. That's why Dzogchen teaches we are all Buddhas by nature, not Buddhists. We're all Buddhas by nature. We only have to recognize and realize that fact, who and what we truly are. As it says in the Laughing Diamond Tantra, the Hevajra Tantra, or scripture. Laughing Diamond, Hevajra Tantra. We're all Buddhas by nature. It's only adventitious obscurations which veil that fact. We're all Buddhas by nature. It's only momentary obscurations which veil that fact. So it's our original goodness. It's fundamental. It's like health. It's the natural state. Illness is the aberration. We come back to health. The doctor doesn't give it to us. His or her expertise can help us to heal if we do, what's needed, as perhaps as prescribed. If we do what's needed, we can heal, come back to natural state of health. If we perform Buddha's experiment, if we can reproduce his experiment of this kind of path, we can replicate the results and become Buddha too, millions to have. So if we're all Buddhas by nature, why don't we experience it all the time? Why do we feel like crap so much of the time? Conflicted, afflicted, dissatisfied, unhappy, suffering, confused, alienated, depressed, agitated, doubtful. We have to look into that. What are the causes of this dissatisfactoriness, this dysfunction, this dukkha, Buddha's first noble truth, dukkha, dysfunction, dissatisfactoriness, not just suffering. There's also dysfunction in things that don't seem like suffering at first hand, like inebriation and all its forms, elation, certain kinds of pleasure, and so on. Just like there isn't suffering in things that are painful, some things that are painful. Like scratching an itch till it hurts. Doesn't that feel good? And pain and suffering are a little different. So as we cultivate letting go and letting be and coming home to ourselves and seeing through momentary thoughts and feelings, all phenomena and noumena, and resting in the central awareness, the central channel of luminous, open awareness, empty awareness, shunyata, jnana, vajra, the diamond-like wisdom awareness, diamond-like wisdom-like transparent awareness. Cultivating this spacious clarity helps loosen, erode, and dissolve the contraction that is ego and selfishness selfiness. It helps loosen, erode, dissolve this contraction, this tight sphincter of selfiness, of self-centeredness, of egotism, of self-limitation, of mistaken identity, thinking we're just this little cog in the wheel. Of course we're a part of the bigger whole. A part of, intrinsic to, not apart from. Like holograph, every part contains the whole. Like the bubble in the sea analogy. The whole sea is in the bubble. The bubble is H2O, the sea is H2O. Like a bubble in the cosmic Buddha body. To talk in English, like a cell in the body of God. The whole is in the part. We don't have to burst the bubble to return to the sea. We're never apart from the sea. We're part of and never apart from the sea of being. When we have that glimpse, when we see through the bubble, when our eyes are momentarily unveiled, we realize we're part of the sea, and then when it contracts again, we can still see through it better. We know we're part of the sea. We don't forget so easily our true identity, our true being, our infinite spacious nature. So this spacious clarity of awareness helps dissolve, loosen, erode, and dissolve this constricted egotism, self-centeredness, selfiness, false self, whatever you want to call it. It's a case of mistaken identity. It's kind of stolen identity. The demon of ignorance has stolen our identity. It is using it. And we have to pay the bill. So I see it's time for questions. We'll go on this afternoon more with sky gazing and instructions and so on. And I try to stay on the practice and the practical. There's a lot of theory and a lot of things we could talk about and a lot of stories of lineage masters and so on. Any questions, please? Yes, here in the second row.
Thank you. This relates to the 3 trainings, the section on action, number 3 on the right side.
The 3 trainings is the left side?
Sorry, the Jogan,
okay.
Sochen,
yes.
view, meditation, this is on action, right. If my question had a theme, it would be helping with no strings attached.
Yes, that's a good one.
And so the question is, how do we know when we act from a selfless perspective versus a selfish, self-serving action? And
right. You ask your husband.
Well,
no, joking.
He was here on the last retreat.
Just joking.
Is there something we can ask ourselves then before we act?
That's a good question. That really comes more on the left side of gradual cultivation, before and after. This is going to be more spontaneous, selfless. Like when there's no one home, then there's no one to be afraid of the robbers of egotism or selfishness. And things just happen spontaneously as needed, not because your ego needs to do things. You with me? So that's more the absolute side. Like absolute bodhicitta doesn't keep you from helping. Because you don't have any agenda, you don't have to refrain from getting involved. You with me? But the relative bodhicitta trains and cultivates and refines your attitude, works on looking into selfishness and greed and meanness and anger and fear and how that works, and relationships, with others and with yourself and with your body and with the environment, not just with people and so on. So that's part of the ethical self-discipline, which involves, of course, compassion and loving kindness and all those things. There's a difference between pity and loving kindness. There's a difference between pity and compassion. Pity is like looking down on somebody as if they're different. Compassion is based on empathy, feeling what they feel. Like with your children, you look down on them in height, but not in other ways, right? You're not exactly equal to them, but you don't look down on them, really. That's empathy, that's not pity. You might feel sorry that they know so little that they put their hand in the fire, but that's not like pity. Pity is more for the people we think are lesser or inferior, or, it's confused, but you see what I'm saying? So compassion has wisdom in it, otherwise it's not real compassion. Selfless compassion has wisdom in it. Love, selfless love, has to have the wisdom of selflessness in it. So we want to look into that constantly in the relative sense in our daily life, whether it's what's your motivation is a basic way to zoom in on this, intention and motivation. The Dalai Lama always quotes the Mahayana Buddhist teaching saying everything rests on the tip of motivation. So let me say motivation is the point. Like karma depends on intention and motivation mostly. So, like, why am I trying to help? Am I just a busybody? Like, I want to see the grandkids, so I volunteer to babysit. Of course it's nice to babysit. It needs babysitting, but maybe not smothering, like grandmothering, not smothering. Mothering, not smothering. So if you're a mother, you have to deal with this probably a lot. Okay, whatever. I'll stop talking now. Yes?
As a New Yorker, I come across homeless people.
No, New Yorkers is a different situation. They have their own, they need their own intense instructions, no doubt. Very high test dharma, high octane,
So-
industrial strength.
Industrial strength, right, exactly. So I'm on the subway and there's a homeless person. And he reeks from not bathing for months and all
right.
that. And so I struggle with, well, do I give him, and he's asking for money, and do I
Right.
give him money because clearly I have enough money, I can give it. Is this an act of compassion? Is this an act of feeling sorry for him? Am I just being self-serving because then I feel good, I gave him some money? It's a struggle.
That's a good question.
And so I was asking.
Don't overthink it and
because
get
of
too
that.
hung up.
Okay. So just
You know what I mean?
if
It's
the
good to give
instinct
him
is
something, but all of these things, like riding a bike, you're always adjusting. I mean, what do you mean give him money? Then you start to wonder, should I give him all my money? Maybe I might keep some in my pocket in case I needed to get home or make a payphone call. I don't know if they still have telephone booths, but should I give him, well, why shouldn't I also write him a check for everything in my account? Or just give him my credit cards? I mean, where do you draw the line? Isn't that called life? I mean, it comes under ethics, but that's life. Decision making, character, Menschkeit, Seichel in Yiddish, sense, common sense, but an uncommon common sense. Like in India, I lived in India for a long time, and there are many, many beggars. And some of them are lepers, and they live by the side of the road on a burlap sack that's their bed and their blanket at night, and they put out their hands, which are missing all the fingers, and so you can drop some change in their hand. So, but then, like in the bridge in Calcutta, there's hundreds of them. So if you walk along or you go by in some form or other, do you give to them all? Do you give to one? What do you do? And if you give too much to one, you get mobbed by 1,000 who tear you limb from limb. So what do you do? And also you can't give enough to all the beggars in India. You would run out of money, you wouldn't be able to eat yourself. So what do you do? So it's his life. Like if you say yes to your children every time they want something, or you spoil them. So discrimination is called for. That's not on the Dzogchen side, where we're on the emptiness, the great perfection, everything as it is. It's more on the relative side. As you said, think before and analyze a little and then try it out and see how it goes. Like if you're in just a stereotype, you mentioned the subway, the stereotype. For all I know, the Bowery is now the new Soho. But if you're in the Bowery and a wino asks you for money and it's cold, maybe you give it to him. Maybe you give it to him and say, God bless. Maybe you give it to him and him or her, and you say, have a cup of coffee. Maybe you try to insert a little sanity into the process. You know what I mean? There's no point giving it to him and say, but don't use it on wine. Oh, I'm only giving it to you so you'll use it on food. Okay. What's the point to that non-conversation? So we try to give, and we also look into the motivation. If somebody asks you to drive them to the airport, is it wrong to say no, take a cab, take the subway, whatever? You have to decide. Generosity, if you study the paramitas, and I recommend this to you, the outer generosity is material The inner generosity is more spiritual, like giving your time, your energy, emotional, lending a shoulder, lending an ear. But the secret generosity is being in touch with the infinite abundance that doesn't need to give, and that is not afraid of being used up either. It doesn't need to save. You see what I'm saying? Non-attachment is the ultimate generosity. Then everything comes and goes and can be shared, like breathing. We don't worry about that. Oh, I'm using up my breath, so I'm going to die earlier. I should breathe slower. I'm going to stop running and jogging so much. It's making me breathe faster and using up my breaths. You see what I'm saying? The mind is just so limited. So that's why I'll say what I said again the other day. I think the greatest teaching in Buddha is the middle way, and finding what that is for you. Not everybody has to give a quarter or $1 or not give, or give to every other one. I mean, those are all improvisational little, tricks and rules, but they don't hold water. So looking at one's intention and motivation is really crucial. Including a deeper way, why am I meditating? Why are we here? What are we looking for? Are we just trying to get away? Are we trying to have a week of peace and before we go back, this is our vacation? Or are we trying to really get something out of this that we can have a little vacation every day at home, at work, or even every moment? Not just vacate hard enough for 2 weeks so I can get through the rest of my dreadful year. Why are we here? What are we doing? Especially as we get older. What are we doing with our precious life, this gift? Is this all? Is this how we want to spend the rest of our days? Questions? Yes?
Number one, the view, which is that right? That's kind of a beginning, awakening, awareness experience that you're talking about? And
It could be. If you think of it as a glimpse or introduction to the nature of the mind, mind is too mental. Introduction to our true nature, to whom what we truly are, that's like a glimpse or an experience, yes. But in general, more, it's just the outlook of the great perfection. As to distinct from the other side, where you're developing these things gradually, it's more of a sudden, like when you have a breakthrough, it's a quantum leap. It's not just a little incremental, I get used to sitting longer and my knees hurt less. It's a different, for example, in Buddhist technical talk, the glimpse uproots some of our obscurations. It doesn't just temporarily push them aside so they don't come back. Like doubt that there's a there is uprooted when you have the real experience. But from the theoretical point of view, it gives us a perspective. Like if you're a sailor, which I don't know much about, you have some kind of sky system, I forget what it's called, but like, that's the guidance. It doesn't mean you can't be lost, but that's the general theory, the pole star, or I don't know what all those things are, the azimuth and the trigonometry, and I don't know, they're big words. I'll have to Google them later. That's like the view, that's the bigger picture. That's all available, but if you don't know how to use it, you can't sail and be a sailor and get where you're going. Have the freedom to go wherever you want. You don't have to go north, you just have to know where the North Star is, then you know where south is, then you know where east and west are. See what I'm saying? But at this level on the left, you're not really sure there's a there because you're just starting with Sunday school. Why should I do good? Why should I do right if nobody's looking? And these kind of level of questions. You don't even know there's a there. It's quite different. It's radically different. That's why we need the experience. So the view is both, like the theoretical underpinnings and more an experience. When I have more time, another day I have a whole Dharma talk about this. The view, meditation, and action. The glimpse, maturation, and stabilization. And a few other points that correspond. So it's not just a theory and it's not just an experience. The ground, path, and fruit. The experience is the ground, that's the basis of the new what did I say? A quantum leap, a different kind of practice. After the experience, it's more like enlightenment practice. Before, it's like throwing rocks in the dark, hoping to hit a target. Afterwards, you've seen the target. You know where east is. You know where the dawn comes up, even though it's pitch dark. You know about dawn. It's different. You've seen the sun behind the clouds. So even though it's cloudy, you don't see the sun, you know it's there. Before, you don't really know if there's a there there. Didn't you grow up that way? I didn't believe in God. I thought religion was like a kind of experiment my parents and in the neighborhood were trying out on us kids. See how much we could take and if it would get us to be better. My parents obviously weren't, they were fine. I'm just saying, didn't necessarily believe in God and that stuff. But afterward, then there's a there. That's the beginning of the true path. Not the end. That's the beginning of the true path. Yes?
So, this is very naive, I think. How do you get to the beginning?
For you, it's too late. Well, this could be the beginning, but you've already begun, so we don't have to worry about that. I've been introducing you, you've been coming to retreats, you're thinking about things, you're well past the beginning. I mean, I don't know who are beginners here. We have a beginners group, but that's for people that haven't been in our kind of center retreat before. I don't know what you've done in the past lives or in the past years. You know what I'm saying? I don't think of people in that way as like beginners. So let's begin now. Let's begin afresh and think about these things freshly. Like if I say everything is perfect as it is, can you resonate with that, or is that totally incomprehensible?
Sure.
Yeah, so you've already begun and you've already glimpsed or understood or felt intuited something. That's different than believe in. So from the point of view of Dzogchen, remember my chart, the ground, path, and fruit, the view, meditation, and action. There's the 3 points of Dzogchen: glimpse, maturation, stabilization. The first point is the glimpse, or that intuition, introduction to your true nature or to nature reality. Then most of us are all in the second part, the path, the maturation, checking it out, getting used to it, seeing if there's anything else, better, deeper, truer. And that has nothing to do with age or really years of experience or how many hours you meditate. It's a more subtle. That's why Dzogchen has often said it's for people with sharp faculties, astute seekers. Not just people who want to follow and believe. So I hope that's helpful. And as we go on, it'll become clearer. Yes, questions? Oh, good. Everything's clear. Thank you. See you later. Hey, Dory. You're always hiding over here.